Oh, hello. I'm sorry I didn't see you over there. My name is Andrew, and I'm here to talk to you about nuclear power. It's a complicated issue, and 5 minutes is far too short a time period to do it justice, but while I'm here, I'll do my very best to provide you with a balanced representation of the nuclear debate as it stands today. Nuclear fission takes advantage of the incredibly strong forces holding subatomic particles together. When you manage to split a nucleus, you create new elements with a different atomic number, and you release a tremendous amount of energy. This process, which was discovered and developed in the 1930s, proved to be very difficult to replicate and required extremely specialized equipment and materials. Because of its potential military applications, the United States government dedicated a lot of funding to developing controlled nuclear fission technology, a process which culminated in the completion of the first nuclear power plant in Arco, Idaho, in December of 1951, and the first nuclear explosive called the Gadget on July 16, 1945. Cute name, eh? Nuclear power plants, which have come a long way since Arco, take all of the energy being stored in the atomic nuclei of uranium-235 and use it to boil water to spin turbines which generate electricity. It's the exact same principle behind coal-burning plants and natural gas power plants, but it creates far more energy and none of the CO2. In fact, the only things released by nuclear power plants are steam and heat, and as anyone who's been to a sauna can tell you, that's better than a kick in the teeth. Of course, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Nuclear power does have its drawbacks. The technology is so cutting-edge that it is still extremely expensive, and even a small reactor requires a huge capital investment. Projects can take years to complete, and the centralized nature of nuclear power also necessitates the development of extensive high-voltage transmission lines. But in an increasingly urbanized world, that's becoming more and more of a non-issue. Additionally, nuclear power plants produce nuclear waste. This byproduct emits radiation and is harmful to humans, but it's not the kind of toxic death wind that some protesters would lead you to believe. Because the reaction products of fission depend on the specific composition of the fuel used, it is hard to accurately estimate nuclear waste's half-life, but it's easy to reduce it. Nuclear reprocessing plants, as used to great effect in France, Britain, and Japan, take spent fuel and separate it into its constituent components. Not only does this decrease the amount of waste and allow for a better tailored method of waste handling, but because only about 3% of the spent fuel's uranium is actually used up in the initial reaction, reprocessing helps the planet. With greater nuclear investments and the development of a North American reprocessing site, we'll be able to reduce the impact of nuclear waste and reuse the already mined uranium once it's been reprocessed and recycled. Maybe they should add a fourth R to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Reprocess. Ah, it even sounds refreshing. Nuclear power has been condemned as just another short-term, non-renewable, and ultimately unsustainable replacement for the fossil-fueled economy we live in today, but that's just not true. In fact, a recent report by the United Nations Nuclear Energy Agency estimates that we have at least enough readily available uranium to power our reactors for another 100 years, and that's using our current designs of reactors. Who knows what the future and advanced technologies may hold? In fact, it's only because we look at the big picture and play the long game that nuclear is such a compelling alternative. Nuclear power can help to save the planet from global warming and irreversible catastrophic climate change with its zero-emission profile. Nuclear power is not just for ourselves today, it's for the world tomorrow. Nuclear plants are also people-friendly. Many of the poignant criticisms raised at Copenhagen's 2009 climate change conference decried emission caps and carbon taxes as further methods to deepen wealth divides between the global north and south. But by investing in nuclear power now, we can help to bridge that gap. Although the technology remains prohibitively expensive, with just a few large capital investments, we will be paving the way for a global nuclear economy and the subsequent drastic reduction in CO2 emissions. In fact, this technology has already been given out in the past and used to great effect. Why, just look at the clean carbon-neutral growth of developing economies like India. We withheld their lands through the despicable practice of colonialism once before. What gives us the right to withhold a cure now? Only the developed world has sufficient experience with nuclear technology to safely initiate a global transition to nuclear power, and it is our duty, our burden, and our responsibility to save the world and its less fortunate people from the terrors of global warming by raising them up to our standards of living. Of course, these power plants will need to be insured, and that has historically been another difficulty. That being said, as the technology develops and becomes more prevalent and continues to be proven safe, negative public opinion and misconceptions about the actual risk of nuclear accidents will change. In fact, with greater investments than the current low risks associated with their operations, we would be able to create a market where such reactors could be insured by private corporations. By removing the state-run insurance monopoly on nuclear plants, we would be promoting the kind of playing field leveling democratization that is at the heart and soul of capitalism. We aim for democracy in all other aspects of our life, so why not in power and insurance too? Some people like to draw upon old prejudices and antiquated misconceptions when critiquing nuclear power, but their concerns are really groundless. As far as security goes, we've now developed nuclear plants capable of running on fuel that is around 3% uranium-235. Not only does this amount of enrichment require the input of far less energy, it is also leagues away from being weapons grade. The bottom line is that we need to cure our addiction to fossil fuels. Nuclear technology has been an invalid workhorse in North America's megagrids for decades, and until some other technology comes along, it's the best chance our planet has. The technology exists. All that we need to initiate a nuclear renaissance is some money, and unless you're comfortable putting a price on the future of your children and your planet, that's not so much to ask. Nuclear's problems are primarily with image and publicity, not with the workings of the machinery. It's a shame that our world is so full of people taken in by shallow ad campaigns, poorly worded deep-voiced rhetoric, and instant gratification ploys, but that's how it is, and that is why this Slidecast was made. Don't misunderestimate nuclear power. The solution to our energy and climate crises is out there, and though the resistance is great, the potential difference is even greater. Thank you, and God bless.